All right, welcome everyone. This is our regular town council meeting of October 2nd, 7 o'clock. If we could have a roll call, please.
Shannon?
Here.
Leek?
Here.
Panthy?
Here.
Leek?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
All right, great. We have a little background noise, but we'll take care of that. If we could all stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Our next item is our invocation. We have the privilege of having Pastor Christian Martin from Living Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church here to tell us a little bit about the church, how it's going, and then lead us in with invocation.
All right, I think I'm on, yes.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It is good to see all of you. My name is Christian Martin, and I am a new resident here in the area. We moved here 4 months ago from Denver, Colorado. So we've moved out here, and it is an exciting time for us as a family, and we're very happy to be a resident together with you. The Living Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church is also fairly new in the scene, so to speak. It's only been about 3 years that the church has served the community. They're on the Merchant Square, and over the last 3 years, the church has been instrumental in being able to provide the community several opportunities for education. One of the things that we often do is health education, and we've had hundreds of people coming in through our seminars over the last few years, and it's been exciting to see people respond in a very positive way, in a very winsome way. We also are very much believe in being engaged with the community. On October 12th, for example, we're going to have a community guest day, and which we are anticipating the attendance of several of our chief police officers. We'll be acknowledging their service to us as a community and doing something special for them. And then on October 19th, of course, is Haymarket Day, right? And that'll be my first. I'm excited about that. In fact, we're going to be in the parade, and I have a 1970 VW Bug that supposedly is signed up to be in the parade. So, if you remember seeing that, I might be the one driving it. But we're going to be a part of that, and we're going to have a booth as well. And we're going to have massages and several other things to provide to those that come by. So you're welcome to stop by at any time. And before I pray, I just wanted to share with you that not only do we provide health education for the community, but also seminars of a spiritual nature. And one that's coming up is called Secrets from the Ancient Sanctuary. It's going to be presented by Mark Finley. He is a traveling speaker that has gone over the world, and he's going to be with us during these 5 days, and I'll be hosting that series. So there's a stack of these in the back if you'd like to be able to take one with more information. So I'm a pastor, and so I'd like to share a verse with you from James chapter 2 and verse 17. Rather, it's chapter 3, verse 17. It talks about wisdom, and it's a wisdom that, as part of the invocation, I'm going to ask God that he will give us this wisdom. It's wisdom that is from above, which is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, easy to be entreated, full of mercy, good fruits, without partiality, and without hypocrisy. On those wonderful characteristics, and we're going to pray that God will grant us that wisdom this evening. Will you bow your heads with me as we pray? Our Father in heaven, we have gathered here tonight for a very specific purpose, and that is to come as not only citizens and residents of this community, but as leaders, to come and make decisions that will be for the best interest of our people living within our community. And Lord, as we begin, we want to acknowledge you as our God and Savior. And we pray, Lord, that you would grant us wisdom, heavenly wisdom, that we would be able to go through our agenda with a spirit of peace and with your guidance. We also pray, Lord, that you would grant us the presence of the Holy Spirit. After all, Lord, we are told that the Holy Spirit will guide us into all truth. And we pray tonight that with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, we will be guided into the truth of what our greatest needs are as a community, into the truth of what choices, decisions ought to be made. And so, Lord, we trust in you, and we thank you for answering this prayer. Be with our leaders, Lord. How thankful we are for their leadership. It's greatly needed and appreciated. And we pray that tonight, for your glory, we may have a meeting that will accomplish great things. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. We also have one added item to our agenda. If I could have the folks come up here, we have a special presentation that we'd like to present to our chief. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Maybe just give each of your names and then I'm sure that.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Clyde Ashley. I'm the master of Haymarket Lodge. With me, I have Jim Prout. He's our secretary and our district deputy grandmaster. I have Brother Brett Fry, whom I'm sure you're all aware of. I have Brother Kevin Hall, Brother Scott Johnson, and Brother Jim Gogan. We're here representing Haymarket. Oh, and I'm sorry, worshipful Brother Bill Robinson, who's our photographer tonight. We're here representing the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Virginia to present a Community Builders Award this evening for one of the citizens and the employees of the town. So tonight's recipient of the 2019 Community Builders Award is Chief Kevin Lands. Chief Kevin Lands first entered law enforcement in 1998 as a member of the Petersburg, Virginia Police Department. After spending 7 years there, he went on to Waverly, Virginia PD, where he attained the position of chief. Seeing another opportunity, he left in 2012 to take the position of chief in Halifax, Virginia. Fortunately for our community, he came here in 2016 and has professionalized the department. As the public can see, he is a community-based cop and has made terrific strides in having his officers to be approachable. Since time immemorial, Masons have been builders. In days of old, we built buildings and structures. And modern Masons concentrate on building men, good men. And we believe that if we build good men, then we'll have good fathers and husbands and brothers and businessmen, good members of the community. If we have good members of the community, we have a good community, which is going to turn into a good state and a good country and a world. And this world's going to be a better place to live. And it's men like Chief Lands who does that on a daily basis. I'm sure you're all aware of the situation that I'm going to talk about, but I'll just go over the highlights. In doing his business, Chief Lands found out about a young boy, Ethan Dixon, age 9, who was a member of the community who was battling leukemia. The chief met Ethan, and Ethan expressed that he had always wanted to be a police officer. Chief Land made it his mission to see that this happened. He rallied not only the department, but the town council, citizens, and local business. On the evening of December 4th, 2018, young Ethan was sworn as an honorary Haymarket Town police officer, replete with uniform and badge. This occasion in front of a crowd of over 500 people whom Chief Land had assembled in front of Town Hall, along with the citizens of Haymarket. There were represented 14 different police agencies, and Chief Land arranged for several local businesses to get involved in the project, and they provided ongoing support for Ethan and his family during this trying period. Not only did Chief Lands make a young boy very happy that evening, but he pulled the entire community together for a good cause. Due to his efforts, Chief Lands' actions, Haymarket is a better place to live. So Chief Lands, if you would, please.
Talked about this.
Chief Lands, this is a certificate from the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of Commonwealth of Virginia. It's a Community Builders Award presented to Kevin Lands. And in recognition of outstanding service to the community. This award is given and heartfelt gratitude expressed for significant efforts toward making the community a better place in which to live.
Step back, Kevin.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody would know, sir.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate that, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. There again, thank you all. That was very nice. Our next order of business is our citizens' time, our chance for our citizens to speak. All we ask if you could give your name and address for the record.
Brett Fry, business owner, 6710 Madison. I just want to say that I give my full support to Chris in the decisions that we have upcoming. And I think he was a good member. And I want to, I'm just saying, man, I'm allowed to say it's citizens' time. I'm a citizen. But I'm okay with that, with the way this is proceeding. I just want to let everybody know that, and I think we're on the right track here.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul. Just wanted to issue a word of caution. I was listening to your work session on the way home tonight, and I would strongly consider you guys slow your roll a little bit on the comments to the county on the project down the street. Most of you are aware I follow county development very, very closely on virtually every corner of the county. I'd just like to point a few things out to you. The comp plan does provide for that type of structure and that type of business. And for once, the community's not really railing against it, because for the first time in recent memory, they're putting something in that isn't townhouses or residential homes. Rather, they're putting in actual commercial businesses that will help the tax base and help the strategic goal of reducing the reliance on residential taxes. That's part one. Part two, I'd be careful in your tone. Going after them for traffic, going after them for putting in a business that peripherally you don't believe fits within the construct of their comp plan, lends the appearance of hypocrisy, given what happened on the parcel at the intersection, where you've put in all of those townhouses. You allowed a hotel and numerous pad sites on a road that is much more congested in front of the town than it is down at the corner of Antioch and 55. So I'd just be real careful with how you play that, lest you be laughed out of the planning office. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments, sir. Anybody else would like to address the council?
Refreshing to hear him before something. Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. And I have a heavy heart tonight because I have to say things I've avoided saying for a very long time. I love this town. I love the people in it. I have nothing personal against anyone, but I can't keep quiet any longer. This has been a burden to me personally, but I'm going to speak for the citizens group after I speak for me personally, but right now I'm speaking for me personally. But it's no personal attack, and I avoided saying names. I avoided having to deal with this because I wanted to be diplomatic. But it can't go on any longer, so hold on to your seats. have to be honest. And some of my experiences started when I applied to build my Haymarket, sell my land to Haymarket Station Development, and I had attacks from the same people that are still attacking me. One, if he's gone, no, he's still back there, came in and made a motion and said he had just been elected to council, and he came in and made a motion from the audience saying, I make a motion, he hadn't been sworn in yet, I make a motion that all of the planning commission be wiped out. And then it went from that to when my application actually came in, Susan Edwards stood up and said, and I've never used her name before, but she stood up and said, if that development at Haymarket Station gets built, my house will be flooded. And it's been there 9 years, her house hasn't flooded. And that turned out to be an issue of the stormwater pond for Green Hill Crossing that had not been cleaned out for a long period, probably since it was first put in. And I had to point out that my uncle, who owned 8 acres of the land that was going to be developed, had paid a lot of money to buy into that stormwater pond, and we weren't able, it was planned for, it was commercial and planned for a shopping center. Those houses actually have grass and dirt going between them, so it's less intrusive than it would have been if it had been a big shopping center. So that was my first experience with Susan Edwards. I'm going to be a little slow because of my handicap here. One of the residents came to me after Haymarket Station was built and said that she had been sitting next to Susan in the audience, and while I was speaking, she was trashing me to her neighbor. And just bear with me, this is all going to be relevant when we get to where I'm going. That person ended up being on the ARB later. She was new in the town, didn't know me, except that I just happened to be the person who listed the house that she bought. And I thought we had a great relationship, but later, after she served on the ARB with Susan, she was less nice to me, and I'm saying that as nicely as I can say it. And she pointed out that the town was evolving. When I raised the issue of the plastic sign out here with the big 1-foot red letters not fitting into the historic overlay. Then another person said the town was evolving to me that had served on the ARB with Susan. Now, Susan was the liaison from the council to the ARB. So if there were any issues, not complying with the historic overlay, not complying with the guidelines, Susan would have been the one who would have headed that off. Now, I'm not blaming Susan, I'm not blaming you for every decision that was made, because I'm sure there were times when someone else made the decision and you voted right. But I'm just saying, on the whole, there's been a lot of mistakes while you were liaison to that board. I was, sorry, bear with me, please. I was thrilled when Bond got on the ARB because I had known her before and she was doing a beautiful job. She bought the oldest house in town, and I knew she was a good person. She loved history. She loved the town. She was going to be a good neighbor, and she'd be good on the ARB. But I was saddened because after she was there a while, she also changed. And when I brought my application before the ARB to demo my house, Bond was then the liaison to the ARB and from the council, so I believed it possible that I could get a fair treatment. Instead, Bond and the chair of the ARB demanded to see my concepts, my conceptual design. And even though I knew you're not required to have your conceptual design when you're applying for a demolition, I said, okay. They said, bring them back at the next meeting. The next meeting when I came, the mayor had been out of town. Susan had called a workshop. She was here. And I got treated like crap, like no one should ever be treated. And the legal counsel to this body was here and did nothing about it. No offense, but it was not good. So I brought my concepts to that meeting, and they said, the chair said, I wouldn't be recognized. He said, I'm not recognizing you, and if you don't sit down, you're going to be removed from the room. Shouldn't happen to a living soul, let alone an old lady who served this town for more than 25 years. Shouldn't happen. I should have had fair and just treatment. And I'm not going to keep beating that dead horse because you all took care of it. I brought the concepts only to find out I knew I could appeal to the council, and I did, and thank God you all justly treated me, and I was able to get my approval. But the vice mayor, who had called that meeting while the mayor was out of town, and was there the night that, even though she was no longer liaison, she was sitting in the audience when they were treating me like that, and she never said anything either. So at the next meeting, when I went before all of you and appealed it, and it was passed, one person abstained, and that was Bond. That precious woman told me later in the parking lot, I abstained because I didn't want to vote against you because I'm under a lot of pressure. The very next meeting, let me finish. At that meeting, Susan asked Emily to provide something to her. Didn't you bring me something? Don't you have something? Because she was wanting you all to deny me. And I didn't get denied. So she got so mad, puffed cheeks, red face, belligerent, angry, emotional, and I saw it. But I've never said anything about it because it was to me personally. But this thing has gotten out of hand, and now I'm seeing things happen to other applicants, and I had to say something. There's just plain incompetence.
Sadi, you're almost about 10 minutes, but you're probably wrapping up, right? I mean,
I'm wrapping up on my personal, but I have to do the
Understood.
citizens. Okay.
5 minutes for personal, 10 minutes for citizens group.
Okay, so
Okay. Then I've had a number of people, this is my last statement, I've had a number of people tell me, I've gone to ARB meetings and I've seen bring something back, redo your architectural designs and bring back something we like and we'll approve you. And I thought, well, when she's off that board, we won't have to deal with that anymore. She's off the board, but you guys put her back on there. And that's why this is an issue. I know what she does because it's happened to me. I've had so many people come to me and say, Susan Edwards said this about you. Susan Edwards said that about you. And if you're up there in a position to make a decision about someone, personal stuff, I have nothing personal against her. I think she was the best waitress that was ever at Matthew's Restaurant. And if she was still a waitress, I'd go back and tip her more than anybody else there. I don't know why she doesn't like me, but I've seen what went on at the last ARB meeting was sad when the people across the street came before. So that's why I'm bringing this up now. She was so upset at the second meeting that she read something that was provided to her about someone who had lived in my house, who had served on the town council and had made a motion. So she even started crying at that meeting and had to hand it over to Bond to finish reading it. I was in shock that she could be that hurt and that upset and be that strong-willed about the fact that I wanted out of my termite-ridden house. So now I'm going to the citizens' time. At the ARB meetings, not only was my application not treated right, but other applicants have been, and one of them, one was the ones just last week, or the last meeting of the ARB, where Marchant brought up that he said, weren't you, I heard that you all were told, to the applicant, I heard that you all were told you had to build a brick building. I want to know who told you you had to build a brick building. Does that have any relevance to the ARB? If the applicant comes in, you're to look at it, to check out the architectural, you're to review the architecture of that building that's put before you. If there's anything wrong with it, then you raise an issue. Several of them raised issues about the windows. Susan raised issues about the windows. Marchant raised issues about the windows. There's something wrong with the windows, but I'm just not sure what it is. Maybe it's this and maybe it's that. And it was maybe pretty embarrassing to me to know that that goes out over the airwaves. They need an architect to give them advice. So that brings in the next can of worms. I was leaving the meeting one night after saying not once, not twice, but at least 3 times, they need an architect on that board to give them advice. He is a consultant. He or she would be a consultant. He or she does not need to live in the town. Just like your council doesn't live in the town, just like Emily doesn't live in the town, just like your chief doesn't live in the town. Be great if they did, but they don't have to. So as I was leaving that night, Susan came up to me at the door and said, if you want to know who got rid of the architect, it was the mayor. Well, you know me, I'm going to go to the horse's mouth. And I approached him and said, are you the one who got rid of the architect? He said, let me go back and check my notes. I know I have notes. And he let me know that Susan was behind that. She had gone to the front office, to the clerk at the time, and said, Bond had brought an application before the town, and that the architect was telling Bond, because she lived in the most historic house in town, that she needed to have real wooden shutters. And even if they didn't close, those little metal things that looked like they would close, which was perfectly good advice. But when Susan went to the front office, she said, this man is serving on our ARB and he doesn't live in town. They're not allowed to serve on the ARB. He wasn't serving on the ARB. He was an architect, consultant to the ARB. She said, he doesn't have our vision. Well, let me tell you something. The vision is not theirs. The vision is the historic overlay, the historical commission that came up with the colonial design, and if they had known what they were doing, they could have said the other night, that building needs colonial windows. But instead, it was just an embarrassing situation. So I'm pleading with you. I am pleading with you. Just because somebody has served on a board for 5 or 10 years doesn't mean they know what they're doing. It's been going on like this for a long time. The Dog's Day Out people, they were held up for 2 or 3 or more years for ridiculous reasons. So I'm going to be bringing an application before the ARB at some point in the near future. I can take care of me. I'm okay. I don't care what they do to me. I'll appeal to you all if they don't treat me right. But I care about everybody else, and I care about this town, and I don't want to see any more of this contemporary stuff. And by the way, Marchant said to the person, that applicant, by the way, you may not know it, but you have 5 choices of the design you can have on your house, on your building across the street. It can be, and he named 4 different ones and included Italiano. Now, you tell me what's Italiano in the town of Haymarket. Either get them an architect, or at the very minimum, there's other people that are willing to serve. And my hunch is, knowing how Susan goes around buzz, 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 that the reason you all put her on instead of Connor was she probably said, Connor's doing everything. If that was said to you, I don't want to hear it. But I'm just saying, I know that's the kind of stuff that she does. So I'd like to see her off the ARB. I hope she would resign on her own, red-faced, puffed up. I don't care how she does it. But we need people who know what they're doing, and we need a consultant on there that this town pays for, or we're going to be in shambles and not be able to undo all the stuff that's done.
All right, thank you for your comments here, Ms. Leonard. Would any other citizen like to speak at this time? Just for the record, Mr. Weir, as you pointed out, the total time would have been 15 minutes, 10 plus 5, and Ms. Leonard went about 16 minutes. I've always, there's probably not one instance that I'm aware of where I've stopped a conversation, maybe stopped for clarification, but never stopped short, and usually always have allowed speakers as long as they're presenting more information and not just going over the same. But as the chair, I always try to allow the latitude of waiting for the speaker to finish, sometimes asking them to wrap it up, but that's my prerogative as the chair. So with that, we're going to go to our next item of the agenda, is our town planners report. We're on page number 2. If we have any comments or questions for Miss Emily. Seeing none, we can then go ahead and go to our town engineers report. We're on page number 4 of our packet.
That's just the agenda, it's not the packet. What the packet was included.
And if nothing, then we'll go ahead and go to our treasurer's report on page 7. Mr. Roberto, how are we doing, sir? Good. Maybe you can grab your mic there. It's always the question I ask you, and I think you know what it will be. How are we operating? I saw your notes in our in your packet there, but
Well, the current report, obviously because we have to pay the debt service up front, shows us in the negative, but come October, that number will change. There are a few items that have shown an increase. The 599 grant, there's a small increase in there that I wasn't aware was going to happen. Confirmed it with Chief that he had heard some talks about it. The 599 grant. As well as, I'd like to inform the council, we are working, we did lose a tenant recently, but we are working, staff is working on getting that repaired and ready for a new tenant. I know there's interest, but as of right now, we don't have a secure future tenant.
and just to update you further, I do have at least one signed letter of intent for consideration for our space there. And actively, I think there's another one that might be forthcoming as well. Okay, any other questions for the treasurer? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to our business manager's report. We're on page number 18 of our packet. Well, welcome, Chris, for your second or third presentation, not officially and unofficially, but we wanted there again, thank you for stepping up and joining our team here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Questions for Mr. Kuhn? All right. Sure, if you have something you'd like to add.
I do have a couple things to mention. To start with, we have brought Martin as a consultant for the ARB, so he will be at some of these meetings as a consultant, so he is here. And Vice Mayor has also asked me about looking into trying to find an architect in the area that would be interested to serve on the board, whether it's a consultant or a member capacity, and that's what I've spoken with the town attorney about, where they can live and things like that. So we are currently working on that right now. That was actually brought up at the last ARB meeting, so that's something we're actively working on. Some of the other things I wanted to mention, VDOT let me know today at Coachway and Caboose Trail, there is some line of sight fire truck issues, so they're going to be putting up some no parking signs in that area. I'm not 100% sure where the location's going to be, but I will let that be known as soon as it's forwarded to me. I just know that there will be some no parking signs up at that intersection so fire trucks can get through, and it should also help if it snows with them being able to pave. Another thing, reach out to Prince William County Transportation. So the speed table that is on Jefferson, what they're going to do is they installed it because there was a petition signed by, it was at least more than 75% of the residents that lived along Jefferson Street. So because they have that, it was a motion that was made at the county that they installed the speed table. So what I told them is that we were getting significant complaints. There was damage. People were bottoming out, hitting their cars. So they said they were going to reevaluate it and lower it. So it's going to be 3 inches instead of the 4 to 5 inches, I think, is what it was. So it'll be lowered. And then if we were interested in trying to get that removed, we would need to reach out to those residents again and get a petition signed that they're okay removing it, but it needs to be at least 75% of those residents. So however you all want to direct me, we can try and reach out to those residents, homeowners, and see how they feel about it. But that will be coming back. I know some people, when it was taken away, they want to know what the status was going to be on that. So that's where we are with that. And then also, we've been in the news recently for quite a bit of stuff. There was an article revisiting the Disney that never was. So there was one of those articles, an article about the town hall exterior, and then, if you all don't know, towards the end of October, Food Line will be closing. So I've got all these articles. If any council member is interested in reading them, I can provide them to you all. But yeah, so we've been in a couple of different newspapers for some stuff. So,
All right.
any questions?
Any questions? No. Before going to our police report, I see an honored guest in our audience here, Sheriff Hill. Thank you for coming to our meeting here. I didn't know if you wanted to speak or say something. Here's your opportunity for a mic and to talk. And there again, thank you for all you do and your service.
Thank you.
To
Good
the
evening,
county.
Mr. Mayor and Council. I was in the town of Haymarket visiting some people, And I saw you having a meeting tonight. I just stopped by to just say hi to you and see the chief here. And I know my guys, when they're in Haymarket, they enjoy working with the Haymarket Police. We have a great relationship, and we want to continue that. And I'm looking forward to Haymarket Day. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you're leading the parade, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, all right. He's right behind your car, Chief.
I will follow the chief.
Yeah, there you go. All right, just for
Thank you.
clarification. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for stopping in. Chief Lands.
Good evening, Council. Does anybody have any questions on the statistics for the month of September?
And there again, we are on page number 24 of our packet.
Okay, so I'll go over a couple things, highlight some things we did this month. But first, I'd like to start off and say that I really appreciate the insight you guys had when you hired Chris. He's been a great asset that I have seen so far. He's jumped right in. He's fit in very well with the team. He already is telling me where things are because he just has learned it that fast. And like today, he pointed out a citizen that I didn't even know. Named that citizen and was like, "Oh yeah, that's so and so." I'm like, "Oh wow." He's jumped in with both feet. He's very easy to work with, and from our side, we appreciate your guys' choice on that. He's been really good to work with. So we'll get to what we've done in the month of September. All of our officers were trained, retrained, or recertified in CPR. The new AEDs that we have, and something new that we have on the street now, which is Narcan. We had specialized training come in for all those items, and our officers, again, are first on scene to almost anything that happens in the town before fire, before rescue. And I feel very confident that our officers can render aid in almost any situation to help out prior to rescue and fire getting here. So that's a very good thing. We also, Officer Davis in the back, did another one of his women's self-defense classes where he was the teacher. And once again, he had, it was about 50 ladies eating out of the palm of his hand in his class because see, that's what he does the whole class, this guy. He really gets their attention and teaches them things to keep them safe, but also does it in a humorous way that really connects. Our classes usually sell out in the first 2 hours, and we do this every quarter, and it never gets old, and we never have a lack of people to take it. So we'll continue to do that. I think we'll probably have one more before the end of the year. We had the Blue Help Walk this past Saturday. It went well. We had a lot of walkers. Although it wasn't put on by our department, we supported it wholeheartedly. I had officers here to facilitate a safe walk, and it went off very well. We had something that's not on my report to you that we did this month was Officer John Gregory was awarded the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Award for our town. We were there at a luncheon with Arlington and Fairfax and Prince William, all these very large departments, and I can tell you that there was only one out of the 14 departments there, and all of them were bigger, and some to the tune of 1,300 officers. Only one officer beat the amount of drunk driving arrests that Officer Gregory did. He did 54 drunk driving arrests last year. Now, to put that in perspective, 1 square mile, 54 drunk driving arrests, and 100% conviction rate. So it shows you that he is doing his job. He's finding drunk drivers, which is hard to do in a small area. I mean, if you figure that the closest one in Prince William, the officer had, I think he had like 29. Now, if you figure their area to hunt versus ours, it's phenomenal. He did a great job. And several officers behind him were 10 and 15 apiece. So we had 84 DUI arrests last year. So I want to really give a big shout out to John. He did a great job. And then the last thing I have is if you've seen the vehicles starting today, pink hubcaps, pink patches on the windows for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The officers are wearing pink badges and pink cuffs. So as you know, breast cancer awareness is very close to my heart, as my mother died from breast cancer 5 years ago. And that's why we do what we do. I think I did a post this morning about some pictures of what we did. I think we're over 15,000 people have hit it with a really lot of shares. Ladies seem to really enjoy it. And then, of course, we have our breast cancer walk this Saturday. Please come out and help us support this. We already have more signed up this year than we had last year. And last year, we had 3 times as much as we had the year before. I doubt we'll have 3 times more this year than we had last year, but we're growing it. And that's special thanks to Officer O'Neill and his team, who have really put together a really good event. So please come out and support that. And you'll see that throughout the month of October. The Patrolling in Pink, we call it. So, are there any questions for me? One other thing I did want to point out, because this was a special significance to the mayor and the vice mayor, we did continue to do our specialized patrols with a focus on the East End. I think you can see from the 163 summonses that we are up, but we are still more warnings than we have issued summonses, and I think that's very important. However, we have upped the summonses, and of those, about 70% of those were specifically in the East End. So we're working very hard to slow the traffic down there. Unfortunately and very sadly, we are still getting everyday bus stop runners. They run the bus. It's so infuriating. We are giving zero tolerance to that. Even if it's anywhere close, you're going to get a reckless driving summons from us, and we'll let the judge sort it out. But we're working really hard on the traffic safety issues that were brought to us by the mayor and the vice mayor, and you can see that by the reflection in the numbers. Any questions for me?
Yes, Chief. Jefferson, since the speed bump had been taken down, we asked to look at that as far as, was there a perception that speeding was occurring without having the bump there? And can you just tell us your findings of your increased enforcement through there?
Yes, sir. So before the speed table went in, you remember we had the one resident, Miss Angela, that came in and was complaining, and we did a speed study. I borrowed Middleburg's speed sign. We put it up for 2 weeks. It collected all the data, and the numbers did not lie. We do not have a speeding problem on Jefferson Street. But the speed table was put in nonetheless. Since the speed table has come out, per the mayor's direction, we have directed our officers to spend multiple hours of their shift on Jefferson Street. Number one, because Jefferson Street is so much nicer now and it's not a pothole mess, speeds will increase just generally because you feel more comfortable to do it. And because the speed table wasn't in, we wanted to see what was happening. Our results are not bearing out the fact that there is any more speeding on Jefferson Street, especially in that area. Lots of times our officers will sit there for 2 hours and get one vehicle or two vehicles that is over the speed limit, and it's no more than 5 miles over. And that's reflected in all of my daily reports that I send to you. So that's just what we're bearing out. Whether you put the speed table back in or not, that's up to you guys. But I tell you, before it went in, we didn't have a problem speeding on Jefferson Street. Not that it never is speeding on Jefferson Street, but it's not systemic. And then we still don't have it now, even though the street is better.
A speed table would be a traffic calming device, correct, Chief?
Always.
And traveling downhill is usually, a car ends up going faster downhill than uphill. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So then the need to have an additional traffic calming is no harm, then would it be?
But the traffic calming is not our call. That's strictly a VDOT call, but it starts with, as we talked about, 75% of the citizens went to Supervisor Canalin's office, and that's how it got put in. It's not a VDOT decision. We put it in once the county if they in fact request it with that 75%. If the general feeling is if it's that we don't need it, then it's a matter of going to the citizens, talking to them, something Chris could do, talk to each one of them, and 75% may say they don't want them. And if that's the case, then you need to get back with Supervisor Canlin's office and let them know citizens don't want it. That's what how the traffic calming works. Personally, for me, I don't care one way or the other. It doesn't affect me, but I'm just saying that's the way that goes.
Yep. All right. Further questions for the chief? All right. We're moving on to our next item is on page 25. We have the Dogs Day Out bond release, and I think a draft motion is on the bottom. I don't know, Ms. Emily, if you had any background other than what's written on here as far as that, then I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
I have a question. Why? So it states that we're releasing the performance bond and only a portion of the landscape bond. Why are we releasing only a portion of the landscape bond?
So our standard is that we release 90%, we keep 10% for the 2-year term, and following the 2-year term, we release the remaining 10.
Excellent. As in the landscaping bond, so if trees were to die out, shrubbery dies out, you hold the 10% to ensure that the landscape stays through?
That is correct.
I think we just released one up on, was it
One of our
Blight?
recent
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. Okay.
So if are you ready for motion, or did you get your question answered, Connor, or?
How long have they, okay, so how do we look at it? So when a developer comes in and they finalize, because finalizing a building is obviously different than finalizing landscape, so when do we start the clock for the landscape then?
So we would start the clock when the landscaping was put in.
Okay, and how long has it
And the
been?
as-built was done, and the town engineer did the walkthrough. So that was done back in the springtime. I could give you an exact date. I don't have the exact date of the walkthrough.
So you're saying spring of 2019?
That is correct.
Do you know if there are any issues with the landscaping at this time?
Currently, there are none. So this is just protection for the town if it were to die off in the 2-year time frame.
Are we allowed to make an exception and release the full amount?
Well, get legal advice on that, but also, it looks like the draft motion, we might need to just tweak that a little bit, too.
Yes.
So the bond provides us with a remedy. We still have the right to require that the landscape be kept up. The problem is the availability of an easy remedy. If you have a bond, you just tell the person, go replace this tree, and if they don't, you take the money out of the bond and replace it yourself. If you don't have a bond and they don't replace the tree, then you're in the situation of providing a notice of violation, taking that to court, incurring attorney's fees and staff time. It's a much more cumbersome process than just having the bond to call. So that's an issue for council in terms of how risk averse you are. If you don't think there's much of a risk there, then you could make an exception for this based on the length of time that this project has been in place and going on, or some other rational basis to treat it differently than other people have been treated with their landscape bonds.
So that would be my question to you then. What time frame are we at right today? Are we at, 8 months? Are we at 14 months? Are we?
So it's been approximately, September, it's been approximately 6 months since this material was put in, and they do have to maintain it for their bioretention pond. And then, of course, aesthetically, they want to keep their business looking nice, and there's other landscaping that surrounds it. But they did use existing trees that were also on the lot, so those would not count. But they really do have a big reason to keep it up because of the bioretention pond. So I think the onus, is definitely on them to do their due diligence, and they're going to want to do it. Otherwise, they have bigger issues with their stormwater.
So what is the exact amount, or do we know what the 10% of it equals?
I don't know the exact amount.
Are we talking 5,000, 10,000? Do we?
The treasurer will get that number
Okay,
for you.
all right. One other comment that I think I heard from the background, but I'd like to, at this time, maybe invite Andrea up to the mic. I heard maybe some concern about not being able to get a loan or something. Could you explain that? And there again, you might know the number right off your hand as far as what the 10% actually equals. Are we?
Well, first of all, as small business owners, we had to go through the BB&T, which is our main bank, and the SBA in order to fund this $2+ million facility. You know, having a mom and pop basically going in and doing this, we don't have those kind of deep pockets to do the whole thing. We are still in a construction loan. We cannot close on our construction loan until all the bonds are returned. We went through VDOT, we went through Prince William County Service Authority. We've had everything else cleared out since spring.
Right. So this landscaping specifically, what monies are we looking? 10% is 10% of how much?
I don't remember what the specific bond, I think you guys have about $120,000, but we can't close on our loan, and we're supposed to close on our loan next week, the end of next week. Until we have the bond letters back, the SBA won't allow for it.
Right, okay.
We're paying monthly fees on those bonds every single day that they're sitting outstanding.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I just wanted to be able to hear. I wanted to be part of the record, so I thank you. Thank you for coming up and sharing.
Also, real quick, just
Sure.
please note, so we had the landscaping done in March of this year, and we actually already had a few trees that went in that died, and we've already replaced those trees. So
Okay.
we've done our due diligence about making sure that everything is clean, all the trees are looking nice. We want the place to look nice, you know, we've put a lot of money and time and effort into it, so.
Understood.
Appreciate your-
Just on a side note, with, like, obviously this landscaper was subbed out or whatever, is there like guarantees that come with their installation?
They told us 1 year, but they also told us because it was a super dry summer that they couldn't do that. The people that came in and replaced it put it in writing and said that they would guarantee it for a year regardless of the weather concerns moving
Okay.
forward, so.
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I guess I just want to know what this number is. Are we talking a couple $1,000s? Are we talking 10,000, 20,000? Yep, yep. Do we have that?
A short recess may be appropriate.
Okay, well, maybe we'll come right back to that. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, let's go ahead and go to the property maintenance code. We'll come back to that. We're on page 26. As we remembered in the past, this has come up with several work sessions, a lot of discussion in the past as well of how to get us to that next step that I think we needed to be at. So we have that on in a draft motion, I think, on 26. Actually, no, it's not a draft motion, but just it would be a motion to approve or adopt ordinance. It would be 10-13.
10-13, yes.
Right, okay.
You want a motion?
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
I make the motion that we adopt section 10-13, the adoption of Prince William County Building Maintenance Code provisions by reference.
Okay, motion on the floor.
Second.
Second by Councilman Lee. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes?
Leek?
Yes.
Panthy?
Yes.
Edwards? Day?
Yes.
All right, great. Back to our original agenda item. Okay, you don't have the number. Okay, well, let me just see if there's a consensus of the council to move forward or how we want to move forward on this.
I'll speak for myself, is I'm ready to move forward. I have watched him because I drive by there every day. I saw him replacing the trees. That was, to me, that was, I truly believe they're doing their due diligence to make that lot look good. We held them back in the past for various reasons and everything, and some justifiable, some probably not. My feeling is I'm ready to move forward.
Okay, and I assume moving forward would mean not to restrict the 10%?
Correct.
Or whatever that number might
Yes,
have
sir.
been. Councilman Lee, any thoughts?
I'm on the same boat in regards to being pro small business as well as we talk about being, I mean, we want small business, we want mom and pop shops in the town, but we also have to realize the lending regulations. I deal with this issue many times within my career as in commercial real estate, to where I have clients that get stuck in the same position to where they can't close on their SBA loans due to having bonds standing out there and having other jurisdictions, and I see that those other jurisdictions, they make exemptions to these all the time. We have a pretty small parcel here that we're talking about. It's not like we're dealing with some 30, 20 acre site that has a boatload of landscaping that's dealing with it. At the same time, they still have to maintain that landscape, and obviously we can go towards them and do that anyways, whether we have this bond or not. In regards to being pro small business, I'm in favor to going and releasing that both performance and landscape bond this evening.
Okay, Councilman Panthy?
I'm in favor to release
Okay.
full bond, and just question if legally what our code says. So
Okay, that'll be a good question, and we'll come right back to that and see if there's any other question. Vice Mayor?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm definitely for releasing the full bond. I think, I'm glad they're here. I think they'll be great neighbors. They've done everything and worked with the ARB I think they'll be, I'm glad they're in town.
Usually I let just the consensus of the council speak, but I would wholeheartedly agree with you all as well. I think if there is an issue, the risk that we have, the minimal risk, and obviously the amount of money that we might be talking about, that all we need to do is make a phone call and they would correct any issue. So with that, I guess we'll go to legal, of just that there's no legal requirement that we don't have to do this, correct?
I'm not seeing anything in the town code. I'm not seeing anything in the town code that requires us to maintain a maintenance bond for landscape plans. Could be wrong about that, but I think it's something that the council could make an exception on based on the facts that you've heard tonight.
Right, okay, and I think that's very important, just being able to close on a loan.
Do
So
we need the
with-
amounts for the motion? or-
I think.
No, okay.
Yep. I think we just need to add the wording. So as you've pointed out, the recommendation would be, I move the town council release the performance bond and landscaping bond for a Dog's Day Out.
That would be great.
So if we, so moved. Second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Day. Discussion on the motion. So we understand we're just allowing this to be a full release based on that. All right, roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Absolutely.
Leek?
Yes.
Handy?
yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Day?
Yes.
All right, thank you all. Thank you very much. Okay, we are up to our closed session for this evening. So with that, I would ask our attorney to move into executive session.
So, Your Honor, the motion would be in the form that the town council convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1 for two interviews with candidates for the town council vacancy and interviews of candidates for the town clerk position.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, great. We will be back. Thank you all very much.
Stick around for your certification, do you?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we could do that, yeah. Okay, and we are back. And the time is about 10 o'clock. So coming back into regular session, the form of the motion is that the town council certify to the best of each member's knowledge that only the business matters lawfully exempted in open meeting requirements under this chapter, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion which the closed meeting was convened or heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
So moved.
Second.
And seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Leek?
Yes.
Handy?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Day?
Yes.
Leek?
Yes. All right, we have some motions, I believe, to go through.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Mr. Chris Morris to the vacancy on Town Council for the term ending June 30th, 2019. 2020.
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Vice Mayor. Discussion on the motion. Roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Leek?
Yes.
Handy?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Day?
Yes.
All right, great. Welcome aboard, sir. Let's see, do we have to do a swearing in?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead for our second motion.
Mayor, I make a motion for the mayor and the town business manager to move as directed in closed session.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Leek, seconded by Vice Mayor. Discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 All right, great. Our next items on our agenda is our updates, ARB updates. Let me think if there's anything that we need.
Right here.
Oh, yes, that's right. Duh. Sorry. You're right.
The ARB
Yeah.
continues to work on the bylaws. We reviewed 2 signs, one for a business updating their sign over here in the Remax building, and the other one was for Ash Salon moving across the street to the old bank building. Those were approved. I have been discussing with Chris about options for training for the ARB. We're working on that, whether it be online and the architect.
Okay, all right. Planning Commission.
We had, basically, it was a short meeting, 2 agenda items. The the Van Meter and Smith property came and talked to us, presented a different plan than what they presented before. It's a little bit more suitable. They definitely responded to our concerns about what's going on in the front of the property, and the fact that the entrance would be off of Washington Street and not off Huntington Path. Nothing would be on Huntington Path there. So they presented a more viable, but there were no promises made, obviously. And the other thing was the McDonald's second drive-through discussion. We talked about that. They're still talking about leaving the first parking, or the first entrance open. They kind of did some modifications that kind of made sense. So I think we made a recommendation to come forward, didn't we?
Yes.
I believe. So,
For a further discussion with planning.
and then we did the 1 mile review, as we discussed earlier tonight, and the issues we had is what Emily had wrote down in the agenda for tonight, and that was pretty much it.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, yes.
So how did you leave it with the housing development down here on Hunting Path? What was
They
that?
had we had questions, and they had to come back.
So they have to come back to you?
Yeah, they're going to be coming back
Okay.
to the planning commission.
It wasn't referred on? Okay.
No, it was not.
Just wanted to give a kind of an aside to that. They had come in with a very last minute change, like 20 minutes prior to, so we're actually going to do a new public notice for the planning commission to have another public hearing.
Okay.
Okay. No further questions with that. We'll go to our council member time. Councilman Shannon.
Really have nothing. I'm anxious to see my friend back up on the dais here, and look forward to serving with Mr. Morris again. That's all I have.
Councilman Leek.
Welcome, Mr. Morse, back to the dais. Thank you, staff, for all your hard work that you all continue to do on a daily basis. Chief, thank you and the gentlemen and our officers for keeping the town safe and always being alert. And lastly, I stand behind my vote that I made last council meeting to appoint Vice Mayor Edwards to the ARB. Sitting in the trainings with her, as well as having conversations with her and the attorney, I know that she's going to be able to lead the ARB in the lawful way that needs to be done. I know that she was very eager to continue the training with ARB to ensure that the ARB is upholding their standards and not scaring off from what their purview is. And I have the full faith that she's going to be able to do a great job on the ARB and hold the ARB accountable and making sure that everyone's working for the best interests of the town. And at the end of the day, if there's a decision that an applicant does not like, they are able to go ahead and appeal it to the town council, as we always have that overview from the recommendation boards. So, Vice Mayor, I stand behind you.
Councilman Panthy?
I have nothing.
Okay. Vice Mayor Edwards?
Time to go home.
Councilman Day?
No comment.
Wait a minute, I thought you had like this whole written thing.
I was kidding.
Oh, you were teasing me?
I was kidding.
Oh, okay. I was really worried there for a minute. I was like, oh my gosh. Closing comments. So I attended a surprise celebration over at Giuseppe's for Josie. Oh my gosh. A room packed full of people that Danica Rome kind of spearheaded. It was a very special evening, and I was so thankful and honored to be there and be part of that. I did share my story as well as so many other residents and patrons of Giuseppe's over the years of their service to the community, to just how good people they are in this, here in our town. And it was truly, it was a very touching to hear all the different stories of how, these two immigrants that came to our country and thrived with owning their first business and just made an impact to when they finally did settle here in Haymarket, and how they've touched so many lives. And so with that, my hat's off for Danica for putting that together and putting the legislation in front of the Senate to be able to have our Richmond to be able to come up with that recognition of her. So that was great. Of course, Haymarket Day. My gosh, we're like, the clock is ticking. We've had obviously weekly meetings that we've got the parade route is like literally going down the hallway as you go to the restrooms with stickies of cars, and that only is done with the staff that's dedicated to make sure that that day is a success and all the proper planning has been put into play. And for the first time ever, we've had to turn away for everything from our sponsors or crafts or our nonprofits, our parade. We had to limit, so it's going to be, I think, a fantastic day that and a lot of planning that. Yes.
How's the weather?
Yes. I'm sure we're that far out. We're still if we got the long range forecast for that.
I think by Monday we'll have our long range forecast.
Yeah. Yeah, and there again, thanks again for Chris for jumping in and now helping out with the day-to-day stuff here, and as we continue to keep developing and molding this team as we keep working together. But it's only with the help of all the people as I look out there, Roberta, Jackie, Emily, Chief, Chris. Yeah, did I miss somebody? Because I'm going through my names here. But yeah. Pardon me? Nothing. Okay. Yeah. But
Can you send email those parade people where they can park? That way they will not have a.
oh yes, they've got all that. They've got all that. It's all been discussed and have it. And it's hopefully coming out to print very shortly. I did say Roberta, right? Didn't I? Oh, good. I just you're looking at me. It's like I mentioned her. But yeah, great. So with that. Thanks for this evening. Sorry we ran a little late. Obviously, we had some stuff. Chris?
Did you want to mention the park in Alex's Army?
Oh, yes. So as we sent out the thing, it looks like we didn't have any objection. So we've contacted the family, and we're working with them of a possible dedication to the playground equipment there for this cause, and that would be something that would continue to grow as we're trying to memorialize these kids that have been affected, or children have been affected by. So we're working very closely, I think, and we'll know more information next week as we put together a game plan. That's yep. And there again, our playground as of Wednesday, I think they finally have taken off. We've taken off all the caution tape for all the equipment that's maybe been set in concrete that were already been checked out, been certified that it's all meets to the standard. So the neatest thing is to be able to drive by and actually see today as kids up in the playground and people taking advantage of the picnic benches and eating lunches there. That's what it was all about, the vision that someone had way before our time to go ahead and take that investment, buy that 5 acres and turn it into something that the town now is enjoying. So with that, I guess we'll look for that important motion.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
All right. second by Vice Mayor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all, thank you very much. Yep.
Chris is going? Yes. Just the two of you, but everyone else is going?